Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 115. Fun, fluffy, and stupid. Recorded live December 15th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief here at the asylum that we like to call iTechGear.org. And joining us this week, basking in his dulcet tones, the former contributing editor at Gear Diary in the defunct Pocket Now. It's a small little cone of silence pause for Pocket Now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Chris Gavula, how are you, sir?
I'm feeling fun, fluffy, and stupid.
That's it.
So I'm all set for tonight.
Oh, it is one of those shows, or it's going to be. Yeah. And
awesome.
you know the mice are going to play when Mr. Larry McJunkin is not here with us this week. So
well, he keeps us in line, and when he's not here,
Yeah, so we all
keep us in line. Can that happen?
No,
I don't think it can.
But that's beside the point. Those lovely baritonic vibrations there are, of course.
Baritonic. I thought it was a tenor, but anywho.
Oh my goodness!
We've already gone downhill. Currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show, and of course living in the Retro Arcade podcast. I'm editor here at iTechGear.org. Brother Joe,
the coolest elf.
How are you?
And
sir?
the coolest elf.
Coolest elf hat.
Yeah. The coolest elf hat. There you go.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Doing well. I'm doing well. My little sorrow here. I had a death in the Tilt's family. My good friend Link. He passed away yesterday. And he is my inspiration for doing what I've done to this body. So, and I get to find out more of that happy fun stuff tomorrow at the doctor. So
and he
how everything went.
Link is
54.
Especially, well, he was only 54, but he was especially somebody, a fellow podcaster. He helped you occasionally with the Linux Link Tech Show, so I know.
Well, he is one of the 4 original creators of the Linux Link Test Show back when they first started it, and they actually did it all in person, all in one room. This magical internet and voice over IP stuff didn't really exist when they started podcasting. So, in fact, without that stuff, this show couldn't happen. But
no.
All very true.
Yeah, he'll be missed very much. He is one of the greatest men I know, and I just pray for his family. So because it's never an easy thing to happen, especially for it to happen this close to the holidays. So
it's true. That's true. So
other than that, my heart's full. Had the family over Saturday, and I had way too many sweets
well, you work them all off this coming week.
It's the holidays. I got to give myself a little grace. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to be kind to yourself.
Yep. And as I had mentioned, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, of course, is the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, is moving domicile. So he is in the process of nursing a backache and a couple of paper cuts as he opens a boatload of boxes trying to get things.
But he's actually out for a good reason, not a bad reason. So there you go.
Yes.
There you go. So that's good. And speaking of good but not bad reasons, there's a whole bunch of Apple Rumorie goodness that's been floating. But when isn't there Apple Rumorie goodness not floating around? But these are kind of interesting. I know that this is one that Dr. Mr. McJunkin and I.
I had one too. I liked them.
Yeah, so the Apple Airport is likely to be revived, which is a cool kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
I liked it it was an easy to manage kind of network thing for people who didn't want to know a lot about networking. They just wanted it to work, and it worked pretty well. It had some limitations, but it worked pretty darn well.
It did.
So it's been gone since 2018.
It has been.
So the rumor is, and it's a pretty strong rumor right now, that it's on the verge of coming back.
Shortly. Yeah, and what was interesting is if those that remember the Apple Time Capsule, right?
Oh yeah.
Which was their network attached storage drive, it also had a built-in airport.
It did, and I had one of those. I liked
I
the
still
device.
have one. I still have one. It still runs.
Oh,
So
there you go.
I've upgraded the drive on it a couple of times. So
Okay, fair
it's
enough.
yeah, it is a wonderful thing. So hopefully this will come back, and hopefully it will be mesh oriented, and it will be
Well, it would have to be, right. They would
yeah.
have to have the newest, latest, and greatest, and whatever.
Well, and I hope it'll be affordable, because it was a reliable piece of
Well, that's what I
networking
liked about it.
equipment.
It was easy to set up, and it just kind of did its thing, and it didn't give you a lot of
No,
grief,
no,
and
no, and it worked, and it worked well.
and you could look by using the utility on any of your devices.
Any
You
of
could
your
look and see its status at any time without actually having to go into it and figure out what
what
it
was
was
going
doing.
on,
And
right?
yeah, you didn't really have to spend a lot of energy to figure out.
No,
Oh, it's okay.
right.
So yeah, this is the first of the rumors that we've been hearing, and this is pretty solid that it may be coming sooner than later.
And
Is
that
what
would
we're
be
hearing.
really very, very nice. And the other thing that I saw that was really kind of interesting to me was that Apple was working on a rejigger of the Magic Mouse,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Trying to come back,
Supposedly.
taking the port off the bottom and sticking it, in the front or in
On
the back
on one of the ends.
on one of the
Yeah.
ends, so that it could be, charged a little bit easier, and that was at least encouraging. I don't see that as being as solid as
And it's not as immediate. I'm hearing,
yeah.
maybe 2026 is what we're hearing. You know,
Well, yeah, I
so
mean
Mhm.
they just quote unquote re-released, right?
yeah,
They came
the
up with an
current
update
one, right,
for that particular piece of hardware, and for them to
right,
turn around to another piece that quickly would be,
yeah.
unusual. They
So
just
all,
don't do that.
so also in 2026, the rumors are that we're possibly going to get a folding iPhone, and maybe two sizes, an
Sure.
iPhone sized device, that folds out to something bigger than the current iPhone Pro Max
Yep.
line.
Yep.
And then we're also possibly they talk about the iPhone 17 Air and some other things coming around, but they're also talking about a foldable device that is going to be larger, like a 19 or 20-inch screen, and be a
iPad,
laptop kind of,
iPad,
well,
iPad,
iPad
or
slash laptop. We're not sure
yeah,
but it's going to be bigger,
right.
than an iPad.
Right. It'll be
Um,
bigger than an iPad, but it also could be something that runs Mac OS,
right. We don't
right?
really know
Or
at this
split.
point,
When it's folded, it might run
but
iOS, and then when you
apparently,
unfold it,
this rumor is a little more substantiated in the sense that it's the first time I've heard this rumor substantiated in that they've apparently been working on hinges and hinge designs and trying to
yeah,
get that right. Apparently, they were talking about a possible outside screen, but now they've given up that conversation and to just kind of have an inside only screen for these
right,
things. I mean, they're talking about these various and sundry things, and I think there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of pent up demand for a foldable iPhone.
right.
I think the question will be at the end, will it be a fold device, or will it be a fold like a flip device? And that's going to be the
Mhm.
conversation. And maybe they'll be both. Maybe they'll be both. And I
Maybe,
think that, who
maybe it would
knows?
be interesting. It would
Well,
be. I'd love to see a flip style, a clamshell
I
style
know.
iPhone. I really, really would.
right.
Yeah. And I could care less about one. As you know, I'd rather see a fold, an open book type of device. But, we all have different needs for it. So I think
Mhm.
there's a demand for both,
I,
The
really.
I
other
think
one
And
is
there is.
there's the name. Then there's the Air version of the iPhone 17, which I'm
well,
not
that's what I,
exactly sure where they're getting with that.
well,
You know, I
Really,
guess a
really
thinner
thin and really
iPhone.
light,
so
but
here's what I think.
Yeah.
It's not going to be quite the same as the Pro Max or Pro side. I think what they're going to do, if I had to guess, I think they're going to line it up like they do with the iPad line. Where
Mm,
there's the Pro device, there's an Air device, and there's a call it a non-labeled device, if you will. At the beginning of the market. I think they're going to have just three tiers in the market. I think that's where they're going with it. I
it would
think.
be interesting to see what they did, because right now, at least with iPhones, there's two variants with two sizes each, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, you've got the series with just the regular iPhone, and then you've got the iPhone Plus, which is the
Yeah.
Pro Max size, right? But is just the regular series phone, and then you've got the Pro and the Pro Max.
Well,
I
yeah.
it's not a bad way to go with this.
Well, it's
Um,
interesting because in the iPad lineups,
yeah,
when they first came out with the Air, the whole point of the Air was a radical
thin and
kind of
light.
redesign. it was a thinner, lighter design than the basic iPad. And that was sort of the notion of it. There was no Pro
Right.
originally, right?
Right.
And then the Pro came out, and so that kind of got the unique stuff after that. And so it's like, okay. So if the Air as a mid-ranger might be just a mid-ranger, but the
Right.
Air might also be a place to introduce a new design where you're not putting all the features that you would have in a Pro in it yet, but you
Right.
want to get that new design out there to sort of test the waters.
Right.
It's in the middle market. It's a safe place because if people don't like it, they can go higher or lower, and they will.
Right.
So maybe it gives you sort of a middle place to try some stuff out. That's sort of my thought.
And we'll
see.
see. We'll see. But
Right.
it's interesting to see some of these and what they're trying to do, because right now I do think that there's a lot of noise
There is.
in with what's going on with the iPhone and rumors and
Yeah.
with what they want to do or what. And I think it would, even though we've said this, we may have said this so far this show, it ain't real until
Well,
Timmy gets
and
out
the
on
other
stage and starts
the
to
other
dance
thing
the dance. But
the other thing we have to remember, and we've all seen this before. People
mhm,
get okay, they get well, designs are boring. The designs are boring. I want to see something new, and then they bring out something new, and they say, "Well, why'd they change all that?" And
right,
so you can't win either way. So I think that's why I'm thinking maybe this is a mid ranger to sort of get new ideas out there and test the waters, because I think they need a safe way to do that. And right now, if you screw with the regular line or you screw with the Pro line, people are annoyed. So
Mm.
maybe, this is just
they're a
speculation.
small, ugly gnome-like creature with two floppy ears that craves
Annoyed?
pizza. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
Thank you.
Exactly right.
Yes. So
So who knows?
yeah.
What you thinking, Joel? You're kind of humming and hawing. Maybe you had. Eh.
There's already rumors about the iPhone 18. I'm sure. I
Of
mean, that's the
course.
thing. I'm just like, I'm not until Tim Cook's skinny ass is on the stage,
Yeah, there's that.
making the announcement. I don't really believe anything, or Phil Schiller or whoever. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. You're
I
right
mean,
about that
so
too.
Right.
whatever happens, happens. Like I don't believe a foldable iPhone's gonna come out unless they perfect it.
I
And
think that's
folding
true.
phones are not perfected. They just aren't.
Well, and they're
So,
saying, but if this rumor is even true, they're not released until 2026 anyway, because like you said, they're not ready.
mhm.
So they're looking at a year from now at least at the minimum.
Because I
Right.
Possibly.
guarantee you, when Apple brings one out, be it a flip style, book style, whatever style, you're not going to see the crease. It ain't going to happen.
It's going to be a something thing. Everybody's going to go, "Wow, that's a nice piece of hardware." That's
Exactly.
what's going to happen. That's because that's how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yep.
People, we were all around enough to remember the last big, I would call it redesign, if you will, of the iPhone when the 10 came out. Remember when the 10 came out,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
They
everybody
got
went,
rid of the home button.
but not only did
Yes.
they get rid of the home button, it was a totally different looking design. It
Mhm.
looked very sleek compared to its predecessor, and everybody went, "Oh,
Ooh. Yeah.
okay, this is pretty."
Ooh,
you know
shiny.
and I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what we're looking for in the next, whether that becomes the Air, whether the foldable becomes that device. They're looking for something to get people's interest sparked again, right? That's what they're looking for.
Yes. Yes.
And
Because there's
so
a lot of variation in terms of device design going on
there really is.
in the Android camp. There always has been, because Android is not owned by one specific
Well, and
device or
they're
device
not.
type or company,
Yes,
and it's licensable, right?
but a
Hmm.
And
lot of what you
Apple won't
see,
license anything, so you cannot get. Apple won't
yeah,
license any of their operating systems, so you don't have any kind of Apple alternative, right?
yeah.
In terms of hardware design or hardware capability. So,
But the
Right.
thing is, if you notice in the Android space, you're right. There's a lot of variation going on there, but I would say the vast majority of those are not successes.
Mm-mm.
I
You
would
know,
agree. I would agree that they're
they're
not
not.
all top tier sort of compelling
Yeah,
kind of
they're
things.
they're just but they're things that people try to come out with. Again, often not at the top tier pricing. Sometimes it is, but usually it's in the mid range to try to see if people bite at it. And you
Right.
see a lot of that, especially for those of us who follow the larger market, we look and see what's coming out of the Asian markets right now. You're
Right.
seeing a lot of interesting designs that are not necessarily available in the United States or North America, but they're interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know that some of them. There's one that there's a couple of these trifolds. They call them trifolds that are interesting, but they're not very durable. But they're very expensive. So you'd never see that come out in the American market right now. It wouldn't succeed. But you don't know. And so I think let them vet it out. Let them fight it out over there. I think people will figure out the best technologies among them, and that's what'll survive. And I have a feeling that's where Apple's going. Whatever it looks like it's going to work well for them. Like you said, creaseless,
Mhm.
foldless, whatever it might be, whatever those specs might look like. It's going to be interesting to see what they come up with
Yep.
when
Yep.
they get there. And they'll get there, but it's a matter of when. I think not
Sure.
if.
Right.
It's a matter of when. And it's speaking of a matter of when.
When.
All right. There's some really cool AirTag improvements that are
So
coming.
they say.
Are.
And they're supposed to be more useful. So, Joel, what's happening with those?
So what they're saying in AirTag 2 will feature a large upgrade to one key feature of the product, precision finding. Thanks to a new ultra-wide band chip, you'll be able to track your AirTag from up to 3 times the distance as the current model.
Which will be a huge help in the airports, I'm sure.
Yep.
So I will say, first of all, this in conjunction with the being able to share your AirTag information with the airline now, that's a big change. But I have to say, I used it on my last trip to track my bag. And of course, it only works if somebody is nearby with an iPhone or it's near a Wi-Fi access point or something like that.
Right.
Otherwise, it gets sort of stuck, if you will. You'll watch your bag get stuck for a while, and then all of a sudden it starts to move again. Right. That's what you'll see.
Right.
But it's still more than we used to know. So
It's still more than we used to know, and
it's like exciting to see this expand.
Yeah.
I'm going to be one of those people that'll get the next generation because I have found the technology useful to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We have also used it on occasion. Once or twice we've used it in the airports, and I cannot tell you how wonderful it was to be able to walk up and down this long row of similarly looking bags.
Yes,
right,
I used the
at
same
the
thing.
At the lost baggage office and ping your AirTag from your phone,
respond.
and then have it respond. And the guy that was sitting there going, "Look, I told you it ain't here because these are all the other ding 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 ding," ding, and he just stands there and shuts up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in that path with them. I know exactly what you mean.
And
I personally have not been doing enough traveling, but I can see how that would be fantastic.
Well,
and I don't like using. The one thing I don't like about the AirTag is I could get some because I do have an iPhone and I do have an iPad.
Absolutely.
But
right, no,
my iPhone is not all, like my iPhone. Like good example here is next Saturday I'm going down to my dad's house,
right,
to visit for the holidays. My iPhone ain't coming with me because guess what? Joel's on vacation.
Joel's on vacation, and that is
well,
not
your iPhone is work only.
It's a work
for most
phone,
of us.
right?
It's a work phone.
So
no, I get that.
And I'd rather have I have Tile, which is actually quite good too.
It's a little bit older. It's a little bit older in terms of its implementation, and has had a chance maybe to
good enough for most things, I would say. I have had some. Now I will say that. Two of the things I had that worked on Tile, one was a Tile I have on my keys, which I actually love and use. I've replaced the battery on that several times. But then Skull Candy on my Bluetooth headphones, the Sesh version that I have, also had Tile built in. Now those Sesh versions, those things have died.
Have they?
Yeah, they. Well, it's about 4 or 5 years old, so yeah, I probably just killed the battery or killed the buds themselves. So
yeah, and I put the AirTag on my luggage. I also put it on my backpack that I carry, and I debated putting it on my keys. I haven't put it on my keys yet, but I can see why that's a valuable thing, like you just did with your Tile.
No, I have one on
wallet.
I have one on my my keys. I have one on my backpack. And I have a Ridge wallet around here somewhere that I need to start using, and it's got a spot for one as well. I'd be happy with just the plain old regular current AirTag on the wallet.
Oh,
I'd be
sure.
happier with something that I could go ahead and either throw into a suitcase or onto my backpack as something that is a little bit more precise, simply because the backpack's got the good stuff in it, and I don't want it to get
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
why it's on my backpack. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, the
But
thing
to
I
have a
like
newer
about
one,
Kyle there is you see if you click on the link I put in the chat,
Yeah.
Kyle has slim ones that just slip right into your wallet. It's like, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a special wallet, which is what I don't like about AirTags. Is
it's pretty darn thin though. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not
yeah,
wallet thin, but
No,
it's
it's not.
pretty
no,
thin.
But it's
no.
not wallet thin, but it's not completely
I,
horrible. I know
I wouldn't
my
call it
son
bulky
has
either.
Right.
his AirTag in his wallet because he's constantly
Okay.
misplacing it. So
Right.
Ah,
he'll go ahead and he'll ping it
and I've
from
known other
his
people that
watcher's
put it in
phone.
their wallet anyway. You know,
Right. Right. So not too bad
Hmm.
there. Not too bad there.
no, not at all.
Um,
Yep.
Not at all.
but it's coming. It's something that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to them as well. And they make an
Yep.
awesome stocking stuffer, a Christmas present. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
very true.
they've been everywhere. Like I've noticed, they've been everywhere this year.
right.
Sam's Club literally has
Yes.
3 packs that you can buy.
All on
So I
sale,
mean,
all at lower prices now too.
yes, which might be the indicator that this might end up being true
Right.
in the near term.
Yeah, true enough. Fair enough.
So
So something else that I think is kind of cool, right? The mail app in
Yeah,
iOS 18.2 is getting some really interesting press.
yeah, it has been, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I certainly use it. I know Dr. Larry, Mr. McJunkin, as I'm going to change around his honorifics. Thanks,
That's okay.
guys. I like to do that to him.
Of
Um,
course.
but he uses it as well, and we both kind of came to the same conclusion in our usage. And now we're seeing this in the press, which is interesting in that it's got a lot of cool features, and
Hmm.
it's a very nice, clean thing. But the biggest thing that they did, I think, was they created this sort of mail categorization thing,
Yeah.
and both he and I found it to be a little bit clumsy at times and makes mistakes. And we've tended to both turned it off, preferred regular traditional presentation of mail rather than this categorization of mail. And the article that we've linked to here also kind of came to the same conclusion.
Right.
The author of the article kind of came to the same conclusion. We think it's
right,
interesting that this is the conversation we've been having here on iTechGear. Of course, we've had this conversation, and
Yep.
here we are seeing other people kind of agreeing with us, and it's like, oh, okay. So it's an interesting app, and it has some interesting features, and I highly recommend you check it out. But understand
Hmm.
this big feature, it isn't flawless, and it has some challenges yet, and
Sure.
maybe it'll be better in its 18.3 version. I don't know. Who knows?
Mm.
Well, and I'll try it again. If they change it and update it, I'll try it again.
if
Absolutely.
corporate would let me use Apple Mail, then I would love it. But
It's
I
a
don't.
very clean app. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
It's a very clean app. It doesn't have a lot of crap, not a lot of fluff, not a lot of crazy. But yeah, I like it. I wish they had a Windows version of it, to be honest with you, because I don't hate Outlook the way some folks do, but it is very bloated. It is definitely bloated,
It
and I would
is.
like it to be. I miss the old mail app on Windows that was so clean. I really miss that old app.
Yeah,
Sure.
me
It was
too.
it was a good app, but no, we don't have it
Yeah.
anymore. So here we go. So yeah,
Yep.
that's where that's going.
Yeah. We shall definitely see. So I'm going to go ahead, though, and I'm going to move us to our mobile Linux
You're going to move
segment.
us now, are you really?
I'm going to
Okay.
move us
Gonna
on.
move
Oh,
us.
all
I'm
right.
gonna because we're moving on down the road, and there's a Wiz sort of implementation in or song in there somewhere, but we're gonna skip through
Somewhere
that.
there.
We're gonna skip through
Oh,
that.
there's a
Okay.
button I really want to hit, but yeah, I won't. I'll
No.
keep it clean.
Thank you. Thank
Android
you. Thank you.
and a new version of Android that might actually be exciting.
This is true. This is pretty cool.
Android XR. So basically, what
Yeah.
we're seeing here is a Google attempt to basically do the Vision Pro kind of deal, but with Android. and it really looks compelling. So they are. Looks like they're fully embracing the spatial computing deal, because you see a screenshot here. It looks very similar to the Vision Pro.
It doesn't sound like they're doing anything very different than Vision Pro. Not
No.
really. But to bring it to the market, and if they can bring it in at a lower price point, then they may have something to talk about. But again, I would argue that without compelling apps, and it does sound like they might be on that right track. It sounds almost like they understand the compelling apps. Because, for example, I heard immersive maps. Well, guess what? That's what I've been saying. On Meta, there's an app called Wander that does immersive with Google Street Map data, and I've argued the Vision Pro needs something similar. Well, it sounds like Google has recognized that in creating this OS, that's a very compelling app.
And the question will be is will Google release the device, or will Samsung, because they are working closely with Samsung on this.
Very true.
It could be Samsung gets the first one, with the Pixel version coming later. Who knows?
Could be.
But I'm totally. I mean, this is something I could get behind.
Yeah, if they have these compelling apps, I'm there.
Yep.
I'm with you. I'd be on this platform if they have the apps I want. I'm going there.
And Google really was the first one that really started looking at AR in any extent with the Google Glass. Now the thing with Google Glass. I think the thing that really with Google Glass, besides the price, which was less than Vision Pro, but still really expensive
for the time, especially. You're right.
So, it was very handy. I think the biggest thing they messed up with Google Glass was the addition of the camera. The camera was just a bad idea, especially at the point when it came out. Because people were doing funky things with your cameras. Now, will a Android XR device have a camera on the front? If it's AR, yeah, but it could be.
I think
more accepted now.
I think you're right, but I was going to say that's part of it, but I think what Google did, it wasn't that the camera shouldn't be there or that they didn't have any value in it or anything like that. I think they did a very, very, very terrible job of talking about it once it was there. Once it was there, they seemed incredibly defensive about it, and that made it look even more suspicious to people. I think they just didn't present it very well, is what I think was a big part of the problem. And they didn't make it so if I'm a person and I'm walking up to you and you have this camera going on, where's my protection? As the person walking up to you, where's my safeguards? And I think that's something that still has to be figured out with this stuff. But the difference now is than several years ago when that thing came out, the difference now is we are, look at the example of what happened in New York, with the shooting. Yeah. Everything's on camera in New York. Anywhere you walk in New York City, you're on camera anyway. Okay. So, the world is different than it was a few years ago in a lot of ways, good and bad. But the point I'm getting at is I don't know if I think people have gotten tired of worrying about it. I think that's what a lot of it is. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if it's more accepted this time or people raise the same concerns. But I am excited about it. I'm very excited what they've done with it. I'm more excited about the VR than the AR versions of things, but I still think it's either way. It's a step in the right direction. It's nice to see.
Sure.
I'm glad to see Google on board with this notion.
Maybe they may be more successful at it than Apple.
They might be.
Who knows?
They might be.
Yeah, because their price point probably won't come in anywhere near as high. Because I think that's what. Let's be honest. That's one of the things that's probably stopping people from wanting to pick up a Vision Pro because of the price. It's like. It could be. It's a very high price to pay for something where you're not exactly sure what the use will be.
I've said it before. If the apps were there, I think people would be willing to spend it. At least some people would, and that would be enough to get the development to be going. But they're not going to develop until anybody wants to do it, and they're not going to pick it up until there's something to be seen on it. And that's always if you can start it at a lower price point, then you could start to sell a higher price point version. But you have to get people on board with it. And that isn't there yet. That compelling stuff isn't there. But it sounds like Google understands that. What I'm hearing sounds like they're understanding apps are the huge part of it. You got to get the apps right, or nobody will go there. at any price.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. Oh, it's a good thing. We're having a good time with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we can open up the flames on Alphabet and use
Yes.
Now we can start the flames and go. Now we told something good that Google did. Now let's talk about something they were not as thrilled about.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Google is raising their prices
They are
on YouTube TV, and part
by
of
$10.
me by $10 a month. And
that's a lot. That's a lot of a jump. That's a big jump.
you know what really, so I rely on YouTube TV for my main TV.
Yeah, me too.
All right, because
Me too.
I don't have cable or anything else, and we got rid of. We had been a direct TV subscriber for, almost 15 or so years, and the minute that the Sunday Ticket left, there was no more compelling reason for me to put up with all of the crap that goes along with satellite TV when it comes to weather and everything
Right.
else.
Well, what do you do for the actual internet underlying it all? Because you still have to have an internet provider.
You
of
must
some
have an
kind.
internet. So I've got a local
And that's a hidden
provider.
cost in all this, guys. You have to have an internet provider as
Listen,
well as this.
over and above this subscription, you must have a internet service, and
Right.
that was even the DirecTV did require some level of internet connectivity
Okay.
to verify connections and whatnot. I've got gigabit fiber provided by a company called Metronet, that is in certain key markets around the country. So I've got gigabit up and down fiber coming in and out of the house, which is nice. In that, I'm pretty fast, and I've got a wired connection down here to the office. So I've got gigabit speeds or close to gigabit speeds through the wire here.
Yeah,
in
they're not in my market yet, but
Yeah, no, but and they're pretty reasonable for gigabit up and down. I pay $108 a month.
Okay.
All right, which is not bad compared to the $320 a month
But when you put
that I
that
was paying with Comcast for
but
a third of
yeah.
that speed.
But I was going to say, but when you put your internet together with your you had Comcast for your internet, but you also had
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but when you put in the market here, we have Comcast doing both internet and TV. Now, I don't have TV up in where I'm at,
Right.
but we do have the service in the house.
Right.
But those two together, they pay $200 or $300 a month for this, for maybe 200 megabytes, right, for speed.
Yeah. Megabits. Yes.
Megabits. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But what I was going to say is, so if you take internet at 107 and you add the price of Google TV, now you're still back in that 200 price range.
I'm
roughly.
still I'm in the $200 price range. Yes.
You're back up there, and you're probably paying for other services like Hulu or Netflix or something else.
When I had dumped, like I said, I had dumped Comcast TV and Comcast phone. I had their triple play. All right.
Yeah,
and I was only using them for internet and internet only, and they were $320 a month for 300 megabits. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Not
I didn't pay that much.
Not a lot, and
ours covered that for TV as well as internet, not just internet.
No. So ours was it's expensive here, and I was in the Metro Chicago market, it was $300 a month, $320 a month just for the internet, and I said that's ridiculous, and I started looking around, and I found Metronet, and they had a gigabit down, and then like 250 gigabits up for $80 a month. All right. And I'm like, $80 a month. That's like, a fourth of what I'm paying for the same type of service from Comcast. And it's a third and they are as third as fast for a quarter of the, anyway. So I'm like, well, that's a done deal. So I got Comcast. I brought that in. All right. So after we dumped DirecTV, all right, which was about $275 a month, and it was just services. All right, I'm now down to less than It'll be 100 and it was $108 plus the $83. So it's what $190 combined for so
Yeah,
I'm
but
still
but
I'm still
your
saving
market,
money.
but your market isn't necessarily indicative of all the markets out there. So I would argue
No.
That is true. That is
it
true. I
is
think we're
not
a
it's
little bit
not
more
necessarily financial. Yeah,
expensive.
it's
We
not
are a little
right.
bit
It's not
more
as
expensive. So
you're right. Your savings aren't going to be the same in other markets, and so you have to
that
do the
is
math
true.
where you are. You have to do the math where you are and figure it out. Because to me, Google TV is starting to get to the point where it's outpricing itself. I don't care for the pricing
Well,
structure,
what
and I understand it. I understand it being why they need to be that way. I get that, but
right.
I will say this: it's still at like we were using Fubo for a while.
okay, gotcha.
Fubo is really great if you're a sports fan, especially if you like soccer and stuff. I don't care about soccer, but and the big reason we went with them at the time was they had the Weather Channel. YouTube TV did not.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And when your son likes the Weather Channel, right? He's all about the Weather Channel.
For some stupid reason.
Hey, he wants a Weather Channel.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
likes- he
it's
likes
one of those.
the-
It's one of those cable channels that used to be good, but ain't so good anymore, in my opinion.
I agree.
I agree.
But still, $82 is still cheaper than what Fubo wants. They wanted on like $98.
Yeah, yeah.
When I
get
left
that.
them, and I'm like, so do I like it? No. Am I gonna switch to something else? Probably not. You
Yeah.
know, if it wasn't for
Oh.
wanting, what I would like to see, I don't think a la carte TV is ever going to happen. I'd love to see that. It's not going to happen. I wanted it
No.
to for years and years and years, even
yeah.
on cable.
I see that. I saw that as a possibility probably about 5 to 7 years ago.
Not
And
anymore.
I said to myself,
yeah.
if that happens, we are going to get charged out the wazoo for
Yeah.
individual
Well,
channels.
so let me ask you guys something.
So
Right.
So let me ask you guys something because I don't have any of those. I don't care about live local TV. So
mhm,
I don't Google TV has little value to me.
Yeah.
mhm.
So my question is,
YouTube TV, but
I
yes.
do some. I'm sorry, you're right. Thank you for correcting me. I do, however, buy a number of the services, the Netflix, the Hulu's, the Disney
Mhm.
Plus,
Right.
those kinds of services, those add-on services. Do you guys still have to add on those services on top of it, or do you have some of that included, or none of
Yes.
that included? How does that
No,
work?
Yes.
no,
I
it-
And
do.
what
it
do you
is-
do?
I
What do you do
have.
today?
Joel, you
Well,
go
see,
first.
I have. Yeah, I have. Well, I have YouTube TV. I have YouTube Premium. I have Peacock, but the low tier on Peacock.
Okay.
The low tier on Paramount Plus, which means I get ads. I don't mind it. So Paramount Plus, Disney, and Netflix. All right.
Okay.
I
And Amazon,
probably
I assume?
could. Well, yeah, because Amazon's given because Prime
Right.
is
Because
still
of Prime. Mhm.
yeah. So and technically Hulu, but I think I got Hulu with
So
the
again,
Disney package. So I
technically
mean that's
you're
the thing.
paying this, but you're paying those values per month
Probably paying
on
more than
top
cable.
on top of YouTube TV and on
Right.
top of you're paying more when you're all said and done. You're probably paying more than you did for cable. But this is what
it's
a la
growing
carte, this
more
is what,
difficult. It's
It
growing
is.
more difficult, especially for your sports fans. Like for a great example here is several of the Buckeye games this year were streamed on Peacock, and I'm like,
odd.
okay, and I'm like,
Peacock is
whatever happened to
CBS
the
and
Big
that's
Ten?
why.
Right, and I don't know whatever no Peacock's NBC, but
Yep.
Yes.
Paramount
but I don't
CBS.
I'm thinking
know
Paramount.
what happened to the Big Ten network, and it used to be you didn't even need cable at all to watch NCAA, but now you absolutely have to have some sort of cable or streaming service, and there are Buckeye fans that were just super pissed they couldn't watch every home game or every game I should say, because of some of this weirdness with that. I don't know whatever happened to the Big Ten network, but that was a huge deal.
Interesting.
And I remember, it's like 1 week you think you have everything, and then you don't have everything, and I'm like, what in the world is going on?
So Chris,
Yeah.
what services are you adding on?
So it sounds like my TV is very similar to Joel's. All right. We've got
Okay.
Netflix, we have Disney Plus, we have Peacock, I have Paramount.
Yeah.
I've got, and for a couple of others, I have some specific services that do because there are certain series or shows that I liked on other networks. All right, like AMC or the CW or something. Anyway,
Gotcha.
long story short, it's very similar to Joel's. All right,
Mm.
the problem that I have with all of this stuff is I am quote unquote entitled to some of these other services because of some other things that I buy. And the
Gotcha.
bundles are getting to the point where it's very difficult to
Gotta be hard to
remember,
manage.
very difficult to manage. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really dislike the bundle stuff. Like when thankfully Verizon seems to be going away from that.
Yeah.
I hope
in
so
some
because
respects.
it's getting to be
Okay.
very difficult to manage what I'm getting from where. All right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would really just rather have it all come from all in the same spot, you know?
Yep.
Because I do not appreciate the fact that I've got to do so much work to manage all this crap. And that's part of what a lot of these companies are hoping for, that you're going to forget, you're either going to forget that you've got them or forget where they're managed, and you have a hard time canceling, right? And that's, what I'm not too crazy about, but
Yep.
we'll
Yeah,
see
so-
see what happens. But
I mean, we've gone on a while about this because it is a complicated topic that
is.
everybody has
It is.
different choices. I've chosen a kind of a minimalist approach. I don't have the basic
Mhm.
TV anymore. I got rid
Sure.
of that. But I did keep, like I said, some of the entertainment streamers I've kept. That's been
Right.
my
I will
answer
say
to the
this:
question.
what you should do if you want to save some money here and there, and you do want the local channels, get a freaking set of rabbit ears because it's so much better on rabbit ears than it was when we were kids.
You want to
Well,
leaf?
um,
you want a leaf tuner is what you want. You want to
Well,
leaf.
Yes.
the digital tuners
Leaf-
is what you need now because you can't do anything else. But you have to
Right.
do digital
Well, most
now, right?
most TVs have those built in. You don't need this as a separate box anymore.
But you
So, I
often
mean,
still need, but you often need something to run to the window with it.
Right.
You need that.
Or an
Right,
tuner.
and that's
Yeah.
where the leaf comes in, right?
Right.
You
Right.
just need to make certain that I mean, because it's this big flat wide,
And you get and you'll get
9 to
for the
12
most part
inch
you'll get
wide
your local
tall.
channels and
You'll get
will
Me TV. You'll get
and
a
you'll
bunch
get all
of
these
other
secondaries. I was gonna say you'll get all these dot channels that are secondaries to your
Mhm.
primaries. And it works a lot for people. I'm using it in 2 different places and it works well for me for the few times that I care about. And you know when I turn it on? When the weather's bad. That's when I want
Yeah.
to see it. Right? Otherwise,
Right.
I don't
Mhm.
really care. I don't really
Yep.
need it.
And
But-
depending
but
on
it's
your
nice to
TV
have.
too, you could even get on some of the TVs. There's even enough storage that you can do some recording to off the
True.
local TVs. It just depends on which TV you have or
It's
which
true.
box you have attached.
Very true.
Well,
So,
some
I
of them
mean-
you can even attach a USB drive and record to them in some cases,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
that's a thing that's on some options. I also want to say
So-
another alternative that I've seen people do. A good friend of Chris and I's does this. Uses a Fire Stick, and there's a lot of alternative channels on the Fire Stick,
They're
especially for
correct.
if you like unusual sports. If you want to watch soccer, if you want to watch car racing, if you want to watch skating. These channels are all over the place. There's sort of an MTV equivalent on these channels. There's all sorts of things on there.
Mhm.
In addition to the regular streaming services, if you want the regular streaming services, it's kind of a nice mix of things on those sticks these days that they've added. And I think the new Google TV has a lot of stuff that's nice coming out. And these kinds of things are all. There's lots of alternatives out there, but you kind of got to look through it and decide where your price point, your pain point is on these prices. That's all. And what your market looks like where you are. It's very, very regionalized, localized. It's not easy to figure out. It's not consistent, but you got to sit down with your spreadsheet and do the math.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed. The way that things are going, you have to stay on top of whatever services.
And
that
it
you're
changes
using.
all the time. It's changing every few weeks, it seems like.
It is,
So-
and the thing that I don't like about this, although I do prefer the way that they bill this
Okay.
add-on with the NFL Sunday Ticket, it is a little bit cheaper than it was with DirecTV. All right,
Okay.
it's about they charge you over a 4-month period, as did
Okay.
DirecTV, but it's about $10 to $15 a month cheaper
Oh, Okay.
All right, it was like $96 um a month on DirecTV, and it's like $81 a month on YouTube TV. So it's about
Yeah.
320-ish dollars, right? Which is a lot for a 4-month service, but or 5-month service. But if you're really into football and your team is out of market, this is the best way to keep. It's the best
Yeah.
way to keep up with it.
And I could
Yeah,
care
I
less
mean,
about sports channels,
I
so
know,
for me,
I
it's a
know,
non-event.
I know.
yeah,
But
he's
but
not
I
into the
understand why it
sports
is for
ball.
others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not into
Right.
the sports ball. But the thing I like about YouTube TV, and really Fubo was the same way, is I just load up the app, and no matter where I'm at, I could be in a hotel room in Knoxville, Tennessee, or it could be on the couch downstairs. And I can watch TV anywhere in the room where I have my iPad or my phone, for that matter. So
Sure
I mean,
enough.
Right.
it's never been more convenient to go. So like, if your son
True.
or somebody like a grandson has an event, you can kind of watch it while you're at that event if you really want to. And I've done it. I'm
Fair
not
enough.
gonna lie, I've done it. So I mean,
Fair
Right.
enough.
and that for me is worth the extra premium. And not to mention
Absolutely.
the fact that YouTube TV has literally unlimited DVR. You know what I
True.
mean? So you
True.
can record as much as you
stuff
want. In
that's
fact,
recorded for
sometimes
God knows how long.
you forgot to press the record button, but you can go in there and say, "Hey, I want to watch this," and they're like, "Oh yeah, here it is."
And it'll play it for you anyway, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and you didn't even have to go press the record button. So
True.
I mean that's the best part about, and that's why I think YouTube
It's one of the
TV
best
is right
parts
now
of
the
YouTube,
best
of
ones.
YouTube TV. Although I
Yeah.
do not like. I will tell you some things that I do not like. I do not like the way it's very difficult to, even though they've got a section for your library and home and live, all right, and you can swap through them all. In many cases, there are a lot of quote unquote live TV.
It's also on demand too.
Right. But they've got a lot of, and I'm trying to get this right, they've got a lot of networks that will binge certain shows, right? One after the
Gotcha.
other. All right. And you go into live and you start watching the show, and the next thing you know, you're really, you know, binging from the library as opposed to what the network is showing. All right. I've had that happen. So anyway, the long and the short of it, there's some good things with YouTube TV. I don't like the guide. I really wish that they would change it up
Yeah.
and do a little bit more with it and give us an easier way of making certain that we are watching live TV as opposed to not live TV.
And I don't like that this price jump is probably bigger than anybody else's price jumps have been
True.
this year. So that's a
True.
little bit,
It's $120 a year is really what they're doing. For
it's
each
jumping up
subscriber.
quite a bit
is
compared
a
to
lot.
others. That's a big jump from previous years.
It
So
is.
I understand, compared to other streaming services, but I understand they offer a lot too. I mean, I
Right.
get that. I'm not
Right.
oblivious to it.
Right. You know what you're not going to be able to have though, because they're not going to
Well-
offer it anymore.
Well,
What TikTok?
TikTok,
All right?
yeah,
Because
there's
the
a
appeals court said to TikTok's latest appeal. So Chris, why
They-
don't you go ahead and take us through this?
Well, I can
this-
talk a little bit
dumpster
about it.
fire.
So let's make it clear, it's being presented in the news a lot as a TikTok ban. That's not exactly legally true as to what's happened.
Right.
The idea is that the company has to divest itself of its Chinese government ownership or partial ownership or whatever that actually looks like.
Right. They want
And-
ByteDance out of it.
They want it out of it. And if they don't get their way, and so the law basically says if they don't do that, then we
Right.
have the right to block them. We're
Right.
not going to have it anymore.
Right. Because they
So
don't. ByteDance has some ties to the Chinese government, and though it's weird the way that they have it set up because
they do.
it's not direct, but it's supposed to be that way so that it doesn't seem as though the Chinese government is interfering with what's going on. But that's
And we don't really know what they are or are not doing with it. We have no idea for sure, but
we think that's
we think
that's
we
not
know,
the case.
sort of.
That's not the case where they are actively directing what the company should and should not do.
yeah, and we don't know that for sure. We think that's what's going on though. So we have to be there's some concern, and that's what prompted the law to come into play. And what's happened now is that it went to the courts. They were sued. The government was sued. It went to the courts, and the courts basically said, "Yeah, they can do this. So it's legal, and they can ban this. So
Well,
they can stop it
interestingly
from
enough, it
happening."
happened in India in 2020. All
It
right.
did.
It
It
happened in
did.
India in 2020 where the Indian government, was having the same kind of crap. All right. It
I'm
was deep
concerned.
into Indian society just as much as it is here.
Yeah,
All
very
right.
much so.
Very much so. And
They
they
did.
said, get it out. We want ByteDance out because we don't want the Chinese government in, all right, into what's going on into so many of our citizens' lifestyles and what they're doing. And ByteDance wouldn't get out. And so they said, okay, great. Then TikTok's out.
Then bye bye. You're done.
Yeah. And it's been
And
that way for like the last 4+ years.
So
So
and there's again there's a similar problem in that sense that what TikTok was when it began is not what it is today, and that it's a problem. It's a challenge. I get the concerns, and
right.
I get the arguments against blocking them as well. I think it's a tough run either way,
It
but
is.
here we go. So the courts have now said, yeah, you can block it here. And
Yeah.
I think, do you know what the time window is? So we have until they wrap it up.
I do not. I
How
thought
long
I
they
thought
had
it
till?
was like a couple of weeks. I think we're into
Because
weeks
I
at
thought
this
it had
point.
gotten extended or something because of all this court nonsense, but I don't remember.
I thought it was weeks away, but I
Okay,
could be
it's okay.
I
I
could be
don't think it's
wrong.
long. I don't think it's very long, but
No,
I didn't know how long that was.
no,
Okay.
I think they have until like something like the end of the calendar year or shortly thereafter,
Yeah.
in order to get it done. The Wall Street Journal article that we are citing here is behind a paywall, number one, and number two is dated December 6th. So that is more than a
Yeah.
week from today. All right,
Yeah.
back.
It's
All right,
yeah.
from today. So it was like 3-4 weeks from when this came out. And
Okay.
interestingly
Awesome.
enough, I think it's I don't want to say it's imminent, but I think it's close.
Okay. Fair enough.
So
Um,
so no more with the TikToks. They're gonna be out of here. So
well, bye bye
we'll
to
see.
the TikToks. We'll miss you.
Yeah. Um, the problem I think that a lot of folks have is that there are a lot of influencers here in the states that are going to be wondering where they're going to be moving
I
their quote unquote platform, right? At this
let
point,
me
how they're going to stay active with all and I think what they're going to need to do is just get on like another
okay.
service, whether it's Instagram,
Yeah, I
and
think so.
everybody there or whatever.
I
Right?
can't insert. I did just do a very, very quick check on the side.
Yeah.
The ban it goes into effect January 19th
See,
of
I
next
thought it
year.
was close. I thought,
So
all
it's
right, so a
soon.
month, 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's very soon.
Yep. So there you go. So they've got influencers have enough time to say, okay, look, until people get this whole freaking thing sorted out, I'm going to be over here. So please like, subscribe, and
I,
whatever else over
I am
there.
going to be curious how they actually implement the block for people. It's going to be interesting to see what
Yeah,
happens. That's going to
I
be a
don't know.
challenge in itself. I mean, if nothing else, aren't people just going to run VPNs and pretend they're somewhere else to play TikTok videos? I don't know why they would care enough about TikTok videos for that, but okay.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
I don't
Who
know,
knows?
but it is what it is.
The kids
So
like it.
the kids seem to like it, Hey,
Yes,
I don't
yes,
know.
yes, yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
apparently the U.S. government has said, get off my lawn, and now
Yeah,
that
they did basically.
yeah. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. They've got a
Yeah,
month
we
to get
will.
this. They've got a month to get. Influencers have about a month to get things started or switched over, and well,
But
anyway,
but
yeah.
that's not the only ban we have to talk
This
about.
is true.
This
So
continues on this anti-Chinese government kind of thing that's going on.
the
Yeah.
It extends into other
DJI
things.
ban, the DJI
Yeah.
ban, Joel.
Well, maybe because there's
Ayúdame, por
currently
favor.
right. So there could be there currently is a bill and actually has passed the House thus far, called the CCP Drones Act. So basically, what
Sure.
they're looking to do is they're very concerned that DJI, especially DJI, is a Chinese-based company that makes probably the leading and the best photography drones.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, nobody else comes close. Nobody builds drones. I mean, there are probably some that do, and usually the ones that do. I gotta say, usually the ones that do are ones that want to skirt some of the things that the DJI drones do. The DJI drones work with the no-fly database, so you can't fly in airports and stuff like that, which is a very valid safety concern. So, so this is past the House, and at this point, they're not exactly sure what's going to happen. Things may change with the incoming, both the
Hard to know.
President, House, and Senate, all going to be Republican controlled at this point. And I think this is going to get more eyes as the recent events in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, where they're having these unidentified flying aircraft. Right now, everyone's saying they're drones, which is very possible they're drones. Nobody's truly confirmed that. They have nothing but pictures of objects with lights going through the sky. So, I mean, really, that's really all we've got so far. There's lots of rumors about them. Nothing's really confirmed. Like, one rumor is it's Iran, another is Russia. But here's the thing. Even our own law enforcement uses DJI drones for their work. So, because they're economical, like I said, they're some of the best photography drones there are. And DJI themselves have shown that they are willing to work with the FAA. Their drones do support the current radio ID. So, I don't know whether to trust. I don't know whether to trust Apple, to be honest. And they're probably more trustworthy than a lot of companies. And I still don't have problems trusting them myself. When they say, "Oh, we're secure," well, I never trust anything when it comes to security. I'm like, you can trust but verify. I mean, that's the way I always like to do as much as possible if I can. But this is something I think it's misguided by our government.
But following what you just said, how do you know? Because you can't trust. So how do you know?
It's
right.
Unfortunately, right. Unfortunately, the U.S. government has a nasty reputation of double talk.
Well, the problem is, even when they're right, how do you know? Even when they're right.
Because they have this bad reputation of talking out both sides of their mouths, right? It is confirmed by the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, that we are seeing drones in the New Jersey skies and on the East Coast, although some of those may be either manned aircraft or duplicate reports.
True.
They are working on it, but they won't officially say whether or not, or they won't publicly say, all right, whether or not this is the work of some kind of a foreign actor. Although they say so far there's no indication of foreign involvement. If this is something that is just a bunch of kids, or
oh gosh, can you imagine if they
just
found out it's just a bunch of kids
screwing up, trying to create panic? A, they're doing a great job, and B, I think it's a little bit much for a bunch of kids to be screwing around.
Maybe
they're saying that there's like over 5,000 different tips the FBI is saying on all of this, and not all of them are credible. So the investigation model that they have is saying that these are all in the places of major airports and whatnot. They could be mistaking planes for drones, and between you and I don't think so. I do know the difference between a drone and a freaking plane. All right. So
well, they've been spotted in New Jersey.
It's not that military style drone, right?
No.
Where
they weren't, they weren't all near airports either. I thought there were some that were in other places.
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's where they've been spotted at: New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Virginia. There are several instances of unidentified drones entering airspace near Naval Weapons Station Earl.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's a U.S. Navy base south of Middletown. So I mean,
it's all very suspicious. Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah. No.
And they had a big news conference thing to say they basically don't know.
Yeah.
What really, really,
Understood.
yeah.
I just think that it's potentially problematic. I don't know why there aren't. I do. It may sound a bit cliche-ish, but even though you said that there are some of these sightings over Virginia, there's too much. There's too much north in that part of the South, if you will. If
Yeah.
this had been happening in Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, I mean, there'd be a whole bunch of these things on the ground. All right.
Yep. Oh
Because
yeah.
I'm telling you, there's too many people out there with rifles and scopes that would just go ahead and take those suckers down. All right.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying
It may
that
be,
these ones they're
I may be
spotting are
exaggerating a little
very
bit, but
large.
well,
Yeah, they're like the size of an SUV in some cases. They're saying so.
well,
Which I don't know. First, personally, once you get something in the air, it's very hard to tell how big the thing is.
it's
Um,
I
true,
would agree with you.
but I wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised. I mean, some of those things would be they'd be taking damage, and they'd be
And honestly, maybe they even are really UFOs. Who knows at this point?
And the government isn't really going to tell you if it's actually
no,
one of their
What
systems
is
that they are using,
correct.
especially if it's top secret. So
what
I
they say on the
mean,
TV show? The truth is out there.
yeah, yeah. I know one thing we know for sure that it's probably not aliens. Um,
Right. No, they're
because I
saying
think
right. According to one particular quote here, Michael Melham, the mayor of Belleville, New Jersey, told Fox News that the state's Office of Emergency Management urged him to quote unquote immediately call the bomb squad if there is a downed drone nearby, and that the fire department was instructed to wear hazmat suits around any fallen drone, saying it was unclear if the drones had a payload of any type. So,
right.
Ah, well,
so
okay,
they're
but
just saying,
that's caution.
caution,
Yeah.
but I'm saying I just think it's interesting that
I don't know.
if this is something nefarious, it's
But to tie it sort of back into the other conversation we've been having, all
yeah,
of these reasons and these concerns are why people keep saying things like, "Oh, let's ban DJI drones." And again, these aren't
Right.
DJIs. There's no connection to say that they are. But the
right,
point I'm getting at is this is why people are always suspicious, and DJI is number one
Mm-hmm.
player. That's why they
right,
win,
and
right?
that's
So
yeah,
they're the number one winner player in that space.
absolutely,
So that's why we hear these things come out.
yeah.
Because if there's even a hint of them being,
If there's even a
Yep.
hint of mint, yes,
Yep.
that
And
that's why we go there.
another area, another area of my hobbies where Chinese products are very well used is amateur radio.
Of course.
There's always been a talk of banning Baofeng or BAOFENG. Baofeng is
Okay.
what I call them.
did they
Radios.
do that?
I have several. Well, there are questionable, at least the early models that we did see here on the state side from Baofeng have had issues with spurious emissions. Okay,
Ah,
spurious as in not not that they're sending your transmissions to someplace China.
okay.
First off, these are only
Yeah.
good for a few miles, so it's not going to talk back to communist China. But one of the things that that you go through when you take your test is that you, the operator, are responsible if you create interference on outside of the amateur bands, which can very well happen if the radio is full of spurious emissions. Now, past ones they did have this issue, but for the most part, any of the ones that have come out probably in the last 10 years have been better and cleaner transmitters. All right.
Okay.
But there's still fear over that.
Well,
And
I've heard
there's many.
Joel, and I've heard that there was some combination of that with why are the Chinese sending balloons over the U.S. because that
Yes.
would put them in range of some of these things if that's what they were
Mhm.
trying to do. I
Mhm.
get it. It's all conspiracy theory kind of stuff. I get that.
Basically, yes.
But you got to recognize that there are concerns out there. People do have some concerns, and we understand. We understand
Yep.
that's where these things come
So,
from.
this drone and the whole drone story itself could be just used as fuel for wanting
Yeah.
to ban these things. Right
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
and the thing that I don't get, at least from politicians, is that DJI has been working with the FAA
They have.
and making sure that these things are staying safe because they sure don't want to lose sales
Nope.
in the U.S. And the
Nope.
U.S. is probably buying more of them than any country in the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I think
And this is
is it going to
also on
happen?
top
It's
of,
something we'll just have to watch.
but this is also on
we go
top of
through.
the stories of Chinese being in the telecommunications equipment
Mhm.
these days and all that. So
Huawei
keep in
and
mind,
stuff like that.
all these things are piling on top of the same kind of stories, and so I think it's good that we're talking about them because they're all kind of on top of each other right
Yep.
now. Oh,
Yep.
gosh,
Why can't
Chris,
we have nice things?
Yeah.
why can't
Well,
we have
there you
nice
go.
things?
There you go. And I
Tis the
think it
season.
is the season. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our Windows segment at this point. But we're going to
But
do that right after this brief message. Hi. This is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to the site. iTechGear.org has been around for almost 15 years. In fact, our anniversary is just around the corner on January 10th, 2025. 15 years. Where has the time gone? I mean, I've never really asked for any kind of donations for the site. It's always been about me providing value to you, a site visitor or podcast listener. The iTech Gear Weekly is now in its fourth year of production, and Chris G, Joel, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin and I are having a really great time providing you with some of the best free tech talk available from time-tested original internet writers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe that our crew has some of the best and most qualified pundits and commentators on the internet today. And we're not hobbled by any kind of sponsorship or affiliated relationship or other time bought posts. It all comes from the heart. Unfortunately, times are kind of tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, yes, almost 3 full years, times have become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. I normally do this with a portion of the salary I make from the day job, but with the IT market so tight right now, it's really difficult sometimes for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site like iTechGear that might decide to bring in a buck or two. It ain't easy. If you find any of our content on iTechGear or from ITGW to be of any value at all, I would seriously appreciate you donating as little as just $1 to the cause. While we do have a Patreon site, it's hard to keep one website up, let alone two. And since it's really only me doing the work, our Patreon site hasn't really helped us at all. If you can make a donation to the site or to the show of any amount, I'd be forever grateful. All donations will go to site maintenance, hosting, podcast hosting, and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@itechgear.org. Make a donation. We'll thank you immediately on the next ITGW episode and voice our gratitude. I want to thank you. We appreciate your consideration, time, and attention. Now let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 115, Fun, Fluffy, and Stupid. So I want to take us into our Windows segment, and then we're gonna hit the back half of the show, the back of the book, And interestingly enough, there are a couple things that are going on. Microsoft
Oh,
is saying that the latest update for Android, Android 15, is going to make the Windows Phone Link app worse. Joel,
huh.
help.
So they say.
What's going on?
So I can't think of the story I care any less about. So Microsoft's warning that Android 15 will make Windows Phone Link worse. Windows Phone Link, if you're unfamiliar with it, is basically you can send text messages and do various phone actions right from your Windows
You
laptop.
can run your apps right from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and other things of that nature. If you actually care about that, basically bringing some of what you could do with Mac OS and the iOS walled garden can do, but with your Android device. So
Well, there you go.
yeah, Android 15, they've added some added security to it. I believe that is. Yeah, Google has implemented a new behavior that automatically redacts sensitive notifications from being sent to untrusted notification listeners. This will affect phone link on certain devices. So if you use phone, like for example, 2FA codes may not appear on your laptop if they come over your phone. All right. Which I get, but I don't know.
It's supposed to be hard coded to your device, so I can understand why they're not wanting to pass that along to another device. I get that.
Too.
I understand it. And if you're but if you're dependent on it today, I can understand why you're going to be annoyed that it won't be there tomorrow too, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
people that use it.
For me, I don't use it, so I mean, I just don't care.
Well, there are a lot of folks that don't use I mean, this is a holdover. This is an active sync sort of
Kind of
Windows Phone, sort of Windows Pocket PC, Windows Mobile kind of holdover. We used to connect our phones to our PCs for a number of different reasons, and it was all about transferring files back and forth for
And it does make that easier. I will give them credit for that. It does make the moving of files easier.
It does, but it's not something that happens as much as it used to, right?
No, I agree.
Even the newer features that Apple has now on their latest version of Mac OS, where you've got iPhone emulation or automatic connectivity. I mean, I don't see a lot of folks using that unless there's
I'll tell you what, I use
app or something that you don't have available on your Mac that you want to be able to use on your desktop while you're connected, or while you're using your desktop, as opposed to picking up your phone and going after it.
I use it for file moves and things, picture moves and things like that, because and the reason I use it on a Mac as opposed to this Windows Link thing is because it's seamless and I don't have to launch an app to get there. It's just there. It just kind of works. So
I get
the barrier. The barrier is down. If the barrier wasn't down, I don't know that I would take the extra steps. But because the barrier is kind of down, I do use it. Now I don't use it every day. I don't use it all the time.
Sure.
But I do use it once in a while. So there is some productivity there, a little bit.
And I get that. I get that. But what I think really bothers me the most, why do I? I mean, like Joel said, why do I care? Because not too many folks actually use Windows Phone Link, number one, and the fact that it's going to be a little bit worse with Android 15, which is a decent upgrade from 14, but nothing too crazy.
And I understand the restriction on 2FA codes and things like that. I get it. So I'm there.
But when in many cases the phone is your primary computing device around the world. Right. Maybe not necessarily in the States, but around the world. I don't know how big of a
Yeah.
deal it's going to be in the long run.
Well,
But
for some people it will be in some, but I think you're right. Most people aren't going to care. But there are a few features like the file transfers are easier to do with
there
it,
are, and you're
like
right.
the fact that it now supports using the phone as your webcam, which we've had on the Mac for a while.
Mhm.
For a
That's a
while,
big, but this is going to be a big deal for some people, having that webcam work.
hmm
So yeah, do I think they're going to miss this one feature? Maybe, maybe not. I don't
maybe,
know.
maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know how many people are crazy. I mean, let me put it this way: if you're looking for a 2FA message coming through, you're already looking for the message.
Mhm.
True.
It's not like you're going to miss an alert you need to
Well,
see
and
because
I'll say this too: outside of
Yeah.
groups of people like us who actually know what the hell this shit is,
yeah,
do people even care?
I think most people
Does
don't.
someone like my wife know about this? Does someone like my
I would
dad know
agree.
about this? He doesn't know or doesn't care. I mean,
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people are like that. They're
yeah.
not going to care.
It's the
But
funniest thing in the world, when it comes to technology about some people. Like my dad, one year, the year before, I saw him dictating stuff on his phone all the time, and I
yeah.
thought, well, why don't I get him a Google Home Mini? I gave it to him.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, I don't want it. I'm like, okay, I'll go get you a gift card. Okay, because
I
and
have
I
to
just kept
say,
it.
I,
It's like,
I would agree with you, Joel. I do.
yeah,
The one thing I will say though is this is one of those things that
mm,
you may not want it or need it most of the time, but that one time you're going to want something that it does, you're going to be
yep,
mad if it's gone. That kind of thing. It's that kind of thing you might
yeah,
use
I could see
once in a
that. I
while,
guess, yeah.
because it is kind of there. It is, and it will try to connect to your phone if it sees your phone. So, if you plug your phone into it for any reason, like even to charge it, it'll say, "Hey, there's a phone. You want to run phone link?" That kind of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so you may be aware that it's there, and you may only need it once in a blue moon, but it's kind of nice that it's there. I kind of like that it's there, but I don't use it
Hmm.
Yeah.
daily, and I probably never will. But it's kind of nice to know that I can get there if I need to.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of where I'm
For
at with
advanced
it,
troubleshooting and stuff, yeah, okay, fine.
and it doesn't create problems like certain other Windows features, like I don't know, recall.
Oh, don't
Recall.
even get me freaking started. All right.
Too
I mean,
late.
honest to God, I have been saying, this show has been saying, we've been saying
We've
for
been saying
months that Windows Recall is a bad idea. Taking screenshots and
implemented badly on top of it.
well, yeah,
It's a bad idea implemented badly.
So now, what's it
very
doing
true.
now?
Oh,
Very,
this
very
this
true.
latest is
But
even worse. It's
the way,
like, oh
Yes,
yeah.
it
crap.
is.
So this next story is about the updated version of Recall, which is supposed to be, very, very privacy oriented, and it fixes a lot of the security
And let
Right.
you
issues that
opt out of
everybody
a
and
bunch
their
of
brother
stuff, and
screamed about when it was first introduced a
yeah,
while back. One of the things is that there's a privacy filter that is supposed to be um, run through some level of AI, and it is supposed to mask or blur sensitive information, right?
like your
And
credit card numbers or
like
social
credit
security
card
numbers,
numbers and social
things like
security
that.
numbers, personally identifying information, address, phone numbers, those kinds of things, right? And
Yep.
um,
And there's a setting to enable that. It's the
there is,
theoretically.
there is,
Right.
all right. Unfortunately,
Fortunately,
it
Uh-huh.
it don't work all the time. All right.
yeah. And
We,
here's the problem.
there's a problem. There are enough documented examples of Windows Recall's sensitive information filter failing to mask credit card information, right?
Failing to filter.
Failing to filter,
Hmm.
even though it is enabled, right? Security experts have referred to this um, AI powered feature as a security failure and a hacker's paradise. All right.
Yeah, I would
That's
agree.
not a
Despite
lie. It's
Microsoft's
not a
blatant
lie.
attempt to address the highlighted security concerns, including making it an opt-in experience and making Windows Hello a requirement to access the feature. Um, number one, Windows Hello also it has a couple different biometric related locks. It's got a face recognition feature which only works with specific cameras, and not all third party
Yeah,
HD cameras will work.
true.
It will work with a fingerprint scanner. All right, so you've got face scanner, fingerprint scanner, and those historically have always had problems of not reading your
challenges,
fingerprint
definitely.
correctly. All right, and then a Windows pin, or before I get to pin, a third party or some sort of a security key,
Key,
right?
yeah.
Right. That you plug into a USB port that either that must be there and usually requires some level of it's got a fingerprints scanner on the end of it that you
Or
swipe.
something. Yeah.
All right, so that it
Mhm.
can tell that you are that person, which still relies on a fingerprint scanner, which has been known and has largely been over the last 20 or so years not accurate or problematic. And then last, of course, a uh, minimum of a 4 to 6 digit pin that you type in. Pins are really easy to forget. They're very easy to capture. They're very easy to spoof. It's only a 4 to 6 digits. So cracking that, if you have the right kind of equipment and tools, ain't gonna take all that long.
Right.
And um, in many it's I would not call this hinging all on well Windows Hello locks the feature. Well, so big deal. All right,
Yeah.
big freaking deal. My sister, my cousin used to lock her door too, to her bedroom or to the bathroom when she and how many stories have you heard of peeping toms and
Breaking in, well, they can break in easily, right? That
yeah,
kind of thing. I got you.
baloney. All right, baloney. All right, but the point that I'm making is this isn't the securest thing in the world. It's been problematic. I really wish Microsoft would just go ahead and retire this idea. It's a bad idea.
Totally agree.
I get what they're trying to do with it, but screenshots is not the medium to use. Pick
And on top of it,
something
to
else.
make it not even when it doesn't even work in the first place, what is the freaking point?
Mhm.
It
Please
doesn't even work.
pick something else. Put it away.
Yeah, spend your energy somewhere else. You don't have enough people
Please.
working on these
You
things
want it to be
anyway.
secure, fabulous, wonderful. Pick something else.
I
This
totally
ain't
agree.
working. This is not cutting it.
Yeah,
And
it
honestly,
doesn't do its thing.
the fact that
I
it's
agree.
built into Windows, all right, and will sit there as cold code because it is an opt-in feature, which I appreciate. But the fact that
Finally.
it sits there as cold code, all right, meaning that it's sitting there off, all right, bothers me because what if then somebody comes in with a Trojan or you go somewhere you're not supposed
And
to
activates
Yeah.
it.
and activates it, but in the background and then captures everything with no security services, where with no
Yeah.
with no filters, right? Please.
Microsoft, and I got some words for you here, and they're not good. All right.
La 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 la.
People are already leaving you for Mac OS.
Yeah.
Yes,
Or
they're
Now,
already
Linux.
some of
angry.
that's
Or
because,
Linux.
yeah, and some of that's because, let's face it, Intel is building hot energy sucking processors,
Yeah.
and people
Right
are
now,
tired of
yeah.
it. They want to have a device that lasts a long time and doesn't have a lot of the
And
AI
provides with happy
the-
ending. Yes.
Yeah, AI. No, most people
Oh,
don't care
no.
about that. In fact, most people, like
Well, we talked about
somebody
this last
said.
week. Yeah.
Yeah. We
I think
did.
I saw a story somewhere. It says about Bill Gates saying that AI should be shaping the world. I'm like, no, I
No.
don't want AI to shape the world. I want
Exactly.
AI to go away. Because I
let's
think it's a bad idea.
well, I
So-
love it when Bill says like shit like that because then of
Right.
course, I mean the conspiracy theories about Bill being part of the Illuminati, they don't have any credibility at all. So yeah,
Ugh.
he ain't helping himself.
Just give me a fast laptop that I can do what I
Yeah.
do today. AI stuff, it's secondary. So
Very true. Very true. I
Yep.
don't like what's happening with all of this crap, but
No, me neither.
anyway, it's a bit problematic, but this is not a feature that I would use anyway, even though they supposedly have addressed not only most of the security issues that a lot of people had, as well as some of the enterprise complaints or security concerns that most people had. I don't care. All right, I don't care. This is not something that I will use privately ever, and it's not something that I would recommend to anybody in any enterprise setting.
No,
You are
no.
inviting problems. In fact, you're not only are you inviting problems, you're flagging them down on the road. All right. Um, and you're trying to hitchhike them, you're inviting them into your enterprise. Why would you do something
True
like
enough.
that? You're inviting them here. Please take my personal information and ruin my credit, please. All right.
Yep.
Yeah,
As if
a
it's not
bad
already
idea.
ruined, right?
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bad.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
not a good time. Microsoft should really just drop Windows Recall. It is not a good idea.
Can't we just get them to take a break for the holidays?
No.
Just,
No.
boys, would you boys just behave, please? There's a RoboCop thing in there somewhere. Yes.
Oh, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and move us to our tip of the week segment, and I want to remind everybody before we even get to the actual tip, that iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easy for everyone to use and understand. And this team specifically is dedicated their writing and or speaking careers specifically to this person. So every week we want to have a specific tip uh, related to some level of computing, authored by one of our experienced editors. And if you've got questions, concerns, comments, or whatever suggestions, do me a favor, send them over to tips at iTechGear.org. And if we use you, we'll give you your 15 minutes of fame. This week, however, I want to, there's a lot that's going out there. As far as Windows 11 is concerned, it's Microsoft is making some really weird decisions about what they're doing and how they're doing. This is one of the reasons why we're featuring some Linux tips lately, and I want to continue on that that trend. And I want to talk about some keyboard shortcuts for Linux. Joel, you're going to be completely familiar with most, if not all, of these. All right, but we're going to have a article out on iTechGear.org that will list these specifically, because you're not going to sit there and copy them all down. I know folks aren't going to do that, but some of these are pretty neat and are of a big help. Linux uses its terminal a lot, and if you aren't familiar with the Linux terminal and you're using Linux, you're going to need to be. So a Control Alt and a T will instantly open up a terminal window. All right. So that's a huge one to have around, right? A Control A is not necessarily select all in Linux. It's going to move you to the start of the line. All right. Especially in terminal. Control C will stop the currently executed command. That's a Windows holdover and a Unix holdover. So those that are familiar or remember back in the DOS days, Control C will go ahead and cancel or stop the currently executed command. Just a few others. We're going to have all of these out on the site in the coming weeks. Control L will clear that terminal screen of all the contents that is out there and display a clean prompt. If you used Control Alt and T to open a terminal window, you know what? What's the opposite of that? Control D. It'll close the terminal window. All right. So there are a number of all these that are going to be out there. There's about a dozen or a baker's dozen or so of these, and they're all going to be out there. Keyboard commands will help you a lot in Linux. Know them, become familiar with them. They are going to really save you some time looking around for these. So
let me add a little bit to that too. So
please,
using the Linux command line, these keyboard commands will be appropriate for those. If you're using an editor within Linux, you need to learn those keyboard commands because they're going to be a little different.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend picking an editor you like if you're going to be a Linux user and learning the tools within that editor.
Yep.
I highly recommend it.
memorizing those. This is
save you a lot of
thing for
time.
Post-it notes. This would be a great purpose for Post-it notes, or it's just some kind of reminder, maybe pinned on the wall or something, or on a monitor. This is a wonderful thing to to have around
Yeah,
for
I think
reference.
so.
So,
All
this
good
is
stuff.
absolutely get rid of the Post-its that have the passwords on it and replace it with this. So there you go. And that is our tip of the week. Become familiar with keyboard shortcuts for your Linux terminal. All right. So there you go. And we're coming up on a couple of year-end holidays here, and so our pick of the week for this week, I've got the pick. Next week, we are going to have a gift guide sort of thing. It's going to be nothing but picks and very little news. There will be some, but very little news, and most of these are going to be all wrapped around gift guides and whatnot, and a couple of picks from everybody on the show. Everyone.
Well, that's news to me.
Yeah. No, it's not.
I can't imagine what you're talking about.
Of course you don't. 3.
Okay,
Next
folks.
week, Chris. 3 from everybody. All right. Anyway, so this week, before we actually get to the tip, again, I want to remind everyone that our picks of the week are usually typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually use, and we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not any kind of a paid advertisement or things that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, we would have to disclose that up front before disclosing the actual pick. And these are just things that we kind of, sincerely believe in and that we like well enough that we want to bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
Oh, not bad, guys. Almost. That's pretty good. Now, this one, I do want to go ahead. I've got the pick this week, and I do want to caveat this pick with your mileage may vary sort of thing. Last week, we did a little bit on gaming handhelds. We talked a little bit about gaming handhelds.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I know that you have, it made you kind of scratch your head and sort of look at a couple of others. And I think you found one that you kind of liked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same one that I've got, the Lenovo Legion Go.
Yep.
And one of the things that it's good enough to be an actual desktop computer for some light productivity work. But also, it's got the graphics power to go and push full, Steam, Epic, EA, Xbox based games.
To be fair, most of that processing happens off box, but yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but you're right.
This is not it's not a bad computer for some light gaming, right? One of the things though that I was looking for, and I had been playing with it a little bit with some of the things that I had around here at iTechGear Central, was some kind of a docking station for it. Some worked, some didn't. I wanted something that would prop it up a little bit and raise it up off the ground to help with cooling, etc. Even though it does use a kickstand. But the reason why this is your mileage may vary is because this particular dock that I went and I got for it, it works not only for the Lenovo Legion Go, but it also works for the ROG Ally. All right. And some of the reviews that are out there for this particular dock are not very flattering. All right. I don't know if the users had a ROG Ally versus a Lenovo Legion Go. This is a relatively very
it's a very generic product.
It's a very generic product. It is definitely Chinese. It is a JSAUX, so a JS aux docking station. All right, and it's only $40. All right.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little thing to go ahead and you plug it in, it functions like any other docking station. Some folks are saying that it does not have a power pass-through. It does. Some folks are saying that that power pass-through doesn't work for them. It works for me. All right. I'm not sure if it's because I got one that it works on or because I'm using a Lenovo Legion Go and maybe it doesn't work for the ROG Ally right I have
And
no
as we
idea.
said, maybe they need better power supply. Like I think some people have said you got to have a 100-watt power supply.
Right.
You know, I've
And
had people say various things.
yes, I think I'm using a 60 watt and it
Okay.
works just fine.
Okay.
I'm
Fair enough.
using an HDMI external monitor and it works just fine. Um,
I think the only other thing we want to mention though is that Amazon itself has flagged that it had a high return rate for
True.
whatever reason. But again, it may just be that people are misunderstanding the product. That could well be
I
the
don't
case.
know. It's
It
very,
doesn't explain why. Yeah, they
from my
don't tell you
perspective,
why.
it's very difficult to understand, what a docking station will and will not do.
True.
However, for 40 bucks, all
For
right,
$40. Yeah, really.
it's not bad. All right. And it comes with a stand, like I said, and the thing, it all fits together and it picks it up and it makes the desk a little tidier. So the
True.
JS Aux docking station for ROG Ally or Lenovo Legion Go, there's a link in the show notes. It's only about $40 or less. There may be a coupon or two that may be available to you. I think there was for me, so I think I got it for under 40 bucks. So not too bad. And for me, it's working very, very well. You can see sort of, well, you guys don't have
You know,
video.
you're blurred.
But either way,
They wouldn't see it.
we don't publish a video podcast, but they wouldn't see it. But honestly, it sets there very nice. And not a bad little docking station for 40 bucks. So there you go. All right. And that, kids, is effectively the show for this week. I do want to go ahead and remind you that, again, this was the iTechGear Weekly episode number 115, Fun, Fluffy, and Stupid, recorded live Sunday, December 15th, 2024. We've got one more show for this year, and then we're going to take a week off. All right. And we're then going to go ahead and pick it up for the new year in 2025. All right.
It's CES.
With CES stuff and some all the wonderful things as the cycle starts again
There we go.
next year. So we'll see how that goes. But just one more show this year. It is next week's. It's the holiday gift guide kind of thing, and then we'll go from there. But as I said, this is Christopher Spera and the iTechGear Weekly episode number 115. Fun, fluffy, and stupid. And for the missing doctor, Mr. Larry McJunkin, I would prescribe a Tylenol and a heating pad. And for Brother Joe McLaughlin and
Gosh
Mr. Chris
knows.
Gavula, we'll see you guys next time.